Right, so we're continuing with our double plantings because of my absence for a couple of weeks, and we're starting today with a nice, simple, straightforward one in an area that I've really been wanting to put a tree in for some time and just keep forgetting to, and this was cheap the other day, so we're going with this. So we're going to be planting Kigelia africana, which is the sausage tree. This isn't a tree that you can eat the fruit of normally. It is quite toxic, I believe, but it's often used in a lot of sort of topical treatments, and in fact I think you can buy the cream of it quite readily in a lot of countries these days. Here, a lot of people just use it fresh from the fruit. Because this is a riverine tree, we're going to be going with a sort of conical pit planting, and so towards the center of the cone we have the tree itself, obviously, and then we're going to have our next most wet tolerant sort of companion plant, which is the Dracaena fragrans. At this time of year, all these companion plants can go right in the wet, so it's not really an issue, but as it gets wetter later in the year, some of these will want to be on the higher part when they're not sitting in water every day when it rains. So the Dracaena fragrans doesn't mind getting really wet, so that's going in, and because they've got curved roots, they're actually sitting out a little bit further than their bases are. And those will provide a nice thicket around the base. I'm not too concerned at this time of year about them touching the leaves and giving access to woolly bears, as happened with the first one of these I planted, because it's really not the season for that, and hopefully by the time woolly bear season comes around again, this will be quite well established, and hopefully the other one will have managed to regrow its leaves as well. Then we're going to be putting in some pieces of the aloe arborescens. These are both going on the sunny side, so the afternoon side in the west, and they should again help shelter the base. These are going higher up the slope, actually right on the edge of the slope, where they shouldn't sit in water during the rainy season. And then finally we're going to be putting in some pieces of the Kalinko vegenkoi, which is the lavender scallops, which is a very easy to grow Madagascar one. It's finished flowering now, so it's really hardy, and it should basically thrive just about anywhere. And if it does get too wet around the base, because a couple of these are going further in than they really should by preference, it'll fall over and it'll root wherever it lands on the ground. It's really hard to kill. Part 2 of today's planting, we're going to an area where I had planted a Dracaena reflexa last year to sort of try and fill a space which keeps sort of letting the sun into an area I really don't want the sun in, and seeing as the nursery has an ongoing offer on Carpenteria palms, I thought I would add one of those because they seem to fit very well in small spaces, and this wasn't a space I really thought would be good for a tree, but this is a very small palm in terms of width. It gets quite tall, but it has a very slender stem and a very, well, relatively small root ball, so it doesn't really interfere too much with other plants around it, but it will add that little bit of extra density we need to stop the sun coming in through here and the air moving out through here more than I want. This is actually only a few meters away from my first nighttime planting, and it's actually going to be getting the same companion plants as that, so this soil isn't the best. It's underneath a plumeria, which does tend to make it harder for some things to grow, but both Sansevieras and Peperomias have shown their worth here, so we're going with Sanseviera parva and Peperomia obtusifolia. I'm not sure, the dwarf rubber plant. It's a very good sort of shade-tolerant, drought-tolerant ground cover. And that should be everything for tonight, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow, because I will be planting something else. Might be partially the same, but not fully the same, but we'll see.